Right now, we welcome in a former NFL exec. He's worked for the Patriots, Niners, Raiders, the Browns, Michael Lombardi. Michael, thank you so much for joining us here in Chicago. How's it going?
It's going well, thank you. I appreciate being here. Love Chicago.
All right, let's talk Bears offseason and, of course, the NFL draft. So we saw 6 quarterbacks go in the top 12. Very rarely will we see even 3 quarterbacks go in the first 3 selections. Williams, Daniels, May. The Bears taking Caleb Williams at number 1. Now that it's finally set in stone, Michael, your thoughts on what Williams will bring to Chicago in this Bears franchise?
Well, I think he gives them the best quarterback that they've had for a long time in terms of processing, making the passing game work. He's very good at reading. He can make loose plays, which means the second play, when the play breaks down, he can then make another play, not necessarily with just his feet, with his arm as well. I think he'll make the team better around him. He's got to hold on to the football, had 30 fumbles. But to me, in this draft class, he was the best pure quarterback in terms of decision making, poise in the pocket, ability to make big throws, and had an arm that could throw the ball anywhere on the field. So I think it was the easy pick for the Bears to make.
The Bears have never had a quarterback pass for 4,000 yards or 30 touchdowns in a season. Do you think Caleb Williams can be the guy to do just that?
Well, not next year, but I think eventually he certainly can build to that. I don't think you want to put him out there and have him have to deal with all the different fronts, the different blitzes. They've got to put together their offensive line, whether Braxton Jones can be the starting left tackle. We know Darnell Wright, who they picked in the first round, is the right tackle, but they're going to have to bring this line together, give him the protection. I don't think you want a rookie quarterback making a lot of throws, over 40 a game, which then puts your team in a real bad situation in terms of turning the ball over, breaking down protections. It's a game of really minimizing mistakes, but eventually, certainly, as he grows within the framework of the offense, I certainly could see him having tremendous success, yes.
All right, so tell me, what are some realistic expectations Chicago should have for a rookie quarterback, and what also really goes into developing a young quarterback?
Well, that's a great question, right? And that's something that I talk about on the GM Shuffle on DraftKings quite a bit today, is that to understand how to manufacture the skill set within the system, right? And so every quarterback comes with a set of fundamentals and mechanics, and they have to work within the framework of the system of the Bears offense, with Shane Waldron calling plays. And they have to do a good job of being able to match what they want to do system-wise to the talent around them. Now, they drafted Dunze in the first round, so they have 3 really good receivers, but I don't think you want to play 11 personnel all the time when you have question marks about your 2 starting tackles. So I think a lot of this comes to game management, understanding situations in the game, relying on your defense to get off the field, making plays, and then in the fourth quarter, finding ways to win games. So I think the development of the quarterback is gradual. Bill Walsh used to say all the time, the first year we'll teach them the skills within the system. The next year we'll develop those skills. And I think that's most important.
You just mentioned the Bears taking Rome Odunze. Ryan Poles said that if you had told him the weeks leading up to the NFL draft that he'd get Williams and Odunze, he'd tell you that you're crazy. So what did you make of that selection right there?
I think Odunze is a really good player, but I think the Bears could have used a 3 technique or another pass rusher to go along with Montez Sweat. I'm a believer in the top 10 that you have to pick defensive or offensive linemen that make a difference. And, I would have used that pick for Murphy, the 3 technique from Texas, or Latua, the defensive pass rusher, because for all this talk about offensive football, the Miami Dolphins, didn't find a way to win games. The Chiefs just won a Super Bowl based on their defense. As good as Mahomes is, they won with their defense. So I think, I know they've got Dexter. I know they've got Billings. I know they have a lot of guys inside. They've got Walker. But to me, if you're going to run the Eberflus defense, which is what they're going to run, it's all predicated on how good the front is. And if your front doesn't dominate, it's hard for that to create turnovers. People will move the football on you, but you have to do it. Look, Odunze is a fine player. I think sometimes we get wide receiver happy. The game's not 7-on-7. The game is about what happens in the trenches. And I think ultimately when you have a top 10 pick and you pass a 3 technique, remember last year, they wanted to pick Jalen Carter when they moved out, and they didn't. Now, that was a 3 technique. Hard to find 3 techniques, and Murphy was a really good one.
Okay, so with OBJ going to Miami, tell me who you think has the best receiver trio in the NFL right now.
OBJ's the greatest. I mean, here's a guy that it's unbelievable. One catch has made a career for him. It's really remarkable. People are actually talking about he should go into the Hall of Fame. Look, I think there's a lot of good teams with receivers, but Bill Walsh often said, the quarterback makes the receivers. I think Green Bay's three receivers are as good as anybody. Minnesota with Jefferson and Addison to go with TJ Hawkinson at tight end, really good. So, look, if you can't protect, it doesn't matter how good your receivers are. And the two teams that had the least amount of money in receivers, Green Bay and now the Chargers, are building their teams through the offensive lines. I think ultimately that's what it comes down to. It's not fantasy football, Tina. We got to block people. And when you got to block Green Bay's front or Minnesota's front and you don't have time, what happens when you can't protect, when you go on the road, all those receivers get frustrated.
Bears, of course, have been busy this offseason. They also signed DeAndre Swift, Gerald Everett, traded for Keenan Allen. Add those guys in already with DJ Moore, Cole Kmet. Is this enough for Caleb Williams to be successful in his first year in the NFL?
I think it's more about is Nate Davis, Ryan Bates, Jenkins, and Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright. I think it's about that offensive line. Can they stay healthy? Look, we know this. Jalen Hurts is a really good player, but Jalen Hurts benefits from that offensive line. It's no secret that offensive and defensive lines get teams to Super Bowls. That's how you win playoff games. The Green Bay Packers had a chance to beat the 49ers because their offensive line was doing really well. This resurgence in Detroit really was about their offensive line. They picked Penny Sewell. They already had a good line, and all of a sudden, now their skill players come back. It's interesting. We keep talking about the skill, but the three top paid receivers weren't picked in the first round.
If Caleb Williams did X, Y, and Z, he would have a successful first year in the NFL. What would that be to you?
I think it would be having a really good touchdown to ratio interception, protecting the ball, and winning close games, finding a way to win those close games at the end of the year. I think that at the end of games. I mean, I think when you go through it, Justin Fields, for all the fanfare that Justin Fields had about how they should have kept Justin Fields, I think, ranked 50th in the national, actually 50th in the National Football League, and leading a team back with under 5 minutes to go in a game with a chance to win it. He ranked 50. Gardner Minshew was 52. So I think that's key. Find ways to win games. Maybe not play your best, but find ways to win games and don't turn the ball over.
So Bears head coach Matt Eberflus, he's 10-24 in his last two seasons here in Chicago. What kind of pressure is there on Eberflus this upcoming season?
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure on everybody. That's the one NFL. Everybody has pressure, right? So on Ryan Poles, too. I mean, he's had a lot of assets. And if these assets don't come through and they don't play to the level that he expects them to, he's going to be under pressure, too. So, look, the one thing about the NFL, there's no easy games and there's no lack of pressure. Everybody has it.
Last one for you. Do you think the Bears make the playoffs this upcoming season?
Well, I think they certainly are improved. There's no question. Can they make the playoffs? I think a lot of that's going to come down to, we saw last year when their injury happened in the defensive front, it really broke things down. You got to stay healthy and you got to grow as a team. And you got to come together as a team and believe. And you got to have clutch kicking and you got to make plays in the fourth quarter. Like I said, Fields was in the bottom 50 of quarterbacks making plays when they're down. That's not where you want to be. Caleb's going to have to be really good in that area because all these games come down to. But look, I think the North is really good. Green Bay's improved. I think Detroit's a really good team. I think the Bears can be really good, but they're playing in the North, which is a really tough division.
What kind of grade would you give on this Bears draft class?
Well, I think it's all about the offseason, Tina. I think it's really everybody grades draft class. I don't. I think it's about the combination of the offseason and how it orchestrates itself within the framework. The ability to sign these players, add this player to your team. I think the Bears are primed to make a giant step. And I think if they don't, everybody's going to be disappointed and there'll probably be new leadership at Hallis Hall.
Michael Lombardi, thank you so much for your time and your insights. We, of course, appreciate it here in Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.